All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for another Retro Rewind. You know the deal. It's the same two people as it always is. Nothing big, but um, I don't know. Let's just do like what we always do with these podcasts and just talk about what we're playing first and just kind of go from there. You doing anything currently, or are you still reading and doing the same as before?
Um, Been playing a little Call of Duty, getting ready for Modern Warfare 2 coming out pretty soon. Downloaded Modern Warfare from 2019, been playing a lot of multiplayer. So I'm getting kind of in the multiplayer season. For me, fall multiplayer shooter season. FPS multiplayer is like, for I can't remember how many years I always buy Call of Duty when it comes out and I always play it. Whether I play it for a few days or a few months, or a few years if I really like the iteration. I'm a big chops up a little bit before it launches.
Cool. I'm still doing the same thing. I didn't really get a chance to play Xenoblade today, but I do plan to finish that up because like you, I do kind of want to spend my fall playing Splatoon and just kind of focusing more on a shooter. Um, Before we get to the big stuff, because we got Ragnarok, we got Bayonetta, we got Callisto Protocol, we got a lot of stuff in the next few months that's really going to draw a lot of my attention. Plus anything that comes on Game Pass and PlayStation that I don't even know what's going to come yet. So it's going to be interesting, really interesting. I really want to try to get back into VR. I got a couple of games in mind to play VR. Um, I don't know.
Speaking of,
So
did
much.
you see any of the Mark Zuckerberg interview with Joe Rogan?
I not.
So Mark Zuckerberg was on the Joe Rogan podcast yesterday and he was talking about he confirmed, I think he broke the news yesterday on the podcast that the MetaQuest 3 is coming out in October of this year, and that it's a substantial, significant uh, improvement over the two, which I own and I've raved to you about off cam before. So really exciting. Joe Rogan said he tried it on. There was some sort of tutorial level with way more realistic avatars than what we're used to. So I think that's going to be fun, being able to create avatars that are a little more realistic, be able to play within games with those avatars that are more realistic. It's got face tracking and eye tracking, so it's going to track your eyes, track your face. It's going to catch your facial expressions when you're having conversations. It's going to catch your eye movements. So he was talking about being able to make eye contact within this virtual world with your avatars and really just trying to enhance that socialization aspect of VR.
Mm-hmm.
So he thought VR was going to be all about gaming, and now he's thinking it's going to be more about communication and being able to communicate and be with people wherever you want to be. And he said he's spending like $10 billion a year on VR development, VR and AR, augmented reality. So sounds really exciting. Looks like Meta is going really full force into VR and AR. And apparently they played a game prior to the podcast starting in Joe Rogan's warehouse, and it's like a mixed reality thing where they're wearing the headsets and over their bodies there's armor and they could see the sword, but they're really just holding the controllers, and they fought within the actual warehouse, but the overlays of the armor and stuff on that felt the contact. So it's like a mixed reality game where you're in your own space, but the VR is augmenting it and enhancing that. So I'm thinking, Meta actually raised prices on the Quest. Both their versions of the Quest went up in price, similar to PS5, and that's something we can talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But um, I'm thinking it's going to be pretty pricey. Probably going to be looking at around $500-$600 for this new
Whew.
Meta Quest. But I think it's going to be worth it. I think it will. I think I'm so big into VR. You know, so
Well, yeah,
I think it'll be worth it.
you and I have definitely touched base on that before about how VR is more than just about games. It's
Right.
you can essentially, if everybody's wearing a headset and you set it up right, and you have the bandwidth for it, you could essentially have a meeting. You know, like you could be at the end of the table, 15, 20 people around you, all holding a meeting, like you're there in real life. You know, and you don't even have to be. Or, um, you know, again, you can. I think they had something like this with Walmart. Don't I don't remember 100%, but you could basically like walk down the aisles and put stuff in a virtual grocery, and
Right.
you would just check out, and then like it would just get delivered to your house. So it's just like, so that's the kind of stuff that you know I want to do. I want to, because I mean I'm already a homebody anyway. You know, 9/10 of the time, unless I have to go out for something, I'm usually home. And like, okay, I'll Amazon Prime it. It'll be here in 2 days, or I'll have Walmart drop it off, or I'll have, you know, um, even if I have to do curbside pickup, that's fine. But I try not to go, you know, too many places. I try to either have it here or have it virtually, like, you know, it's digital. It's sent to me like a code, like a game or something. I try not to go out very much. And I think that from what you're telling me, the Meta 3 is definitely going to be that, because eye tracking is going to be cool. I think they said the PSVR 2 has like sensors in the forehead, so like you could feel like if it rains, it's actually trickling on your forehead. And I think they said that based on how you grip it, it's going to feel realistic also. So
Right.
just exciting stuff, and especially if you can get some kind of a vest or whatever that when you take hits it vibrates, so you actually feel like you're taking a hit, like you get shot and it just vibrates in your shoulders. Like it's gonna be interesting stuff.
Right. The immersion is just going to improve every year. And he mentioned it in the podcast. I don't know if it was a slip of the tongue, if it was a mistake, maybe he didn't truly mean it, but he said this year's version and next year's version and the year after that. So I don't know if they're planning on going almost iPhone yearly release type thing where they believe that the technology is advancing so fast that it makes sense to release it yearly instead of maybe every 2 or 3 years, because you're just constantly going to get a better experience. But he, in the podcast, said next year's release and the year after that. So it'll be interesting. I don't know what that means as far as how valuable that makes this year's release, right? If there's just going to be a new and better one next year, why not wait? Um,
Yeah, that's the same.
but
That's the same mentality people have with phones though. Like, you know, why should I pick up the iPhone 12? I'll wait for the 13 or wait for the 14 or whatever. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely, but people pick it up every year. Um,
they
I
do.
I do think that maybe cloud processing might help, or maybe like with PlayStation 5, for an example, maybe updates to help it load faster or whatever, so it feels like it's a new thing. I don't really know. It might have been a slip of the tongue, or maybe he's just being ambitious, because I don't know if they can actually. Because I mean, it's already hard enough to release a VR headset. I don't know if they can essentially release one every single year.
Right. But it sounds like they're investing a lot of money into the technology, that they're very invested. It sounds like he believes it's the future, that it's the future of screen time. So he talked in it about, um, you know, for so long, for the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, everyone was on TVs. And then slowly computers came and everyone was spending their screen time either on TVs and computers. And then now people spend most of their screen time on devices, phones, iPads, computers. Uh,
Okay. So yeah, sorry about that. We had a little bit of a technical issue there. So you guys didn't see it. We paused it and all that stuff. But you can go ahead and continue whenever you're ready, Mike.
sure. I was just talking about the idea that Mark Zuckerberg is really invested in making the future very augmented and enhanced through. It sounds like ultimately his favorite path sounds like augmented reality with more so glasses, a pair of glasses similar to your own
Hmm.
that are going to have a digital overlay or be able to, I think he said, fire lasers that can create holograms in the real world that you can only see because of your glasses. And so, for example, you and I would be able to do this podcast in the same room if we both had a pair of these glasses, right?
Hmm.
I could bring you in and you could bring me in, and then very interesting. I don't know how that would happen with as far as like body scanning or whatever. He didn't get too much into it, but basically we're going to be able to augment, have meetings with people, work meetings where we're all together in the same room and stuff like that just by wearing these pairs of glasses. And it sounds really interesting, man.
Definitely interesting. Yeah. That sounds like some 30th century stuff. Um, but definitely interesting nonetheless. I will say. AR, I think, would be a little bit of a better experience because VR is fine, but a lot of times you can tell you're in a virtual world. But some of the stuff that I don't know if you remember the Hololens demonstration that Microsoft gave a few years back, where they were kind of showing like Conquer and they were jumping around on like people's couches or whatever, and they basically could treat your living room like it was an actual level that you were playing.
Right.
And then even with the 3DS, how you could, move around and like shoot these faces that would come out at you and stuff like that. Some of that stuff is really fun. Like I can just imagine augmented fishing, for an example. Like I could just sit here in this chair. I don't have to go to an actual lake. I can just, virtual fish coming out. Like it could be some fun stuff. So that sounds really good. That sounds really cool. But you did talk earlier about how the price is going up for stuff, and I actually was thinking about that earlier today because I heard that the PlayStation 5's prices have gone up, and I wanted to get your 2 cents on that.
I think it's unfortunate. I'm happy it's not happening in the United States. I saw that it's basically happening in pretty much every other region of the world,
Mm-hmm.
but PS5 prices aren't going up here. So, doesn't impact me, so I'm not very mad because I do plan on buying a second PS5. But it's just scary, man. It's just a microcosm of the world we're currently living in with inflation and production costs skyrocketing, and more so than having an opinion on it from a gaming perspective, I have an opinion on it from a human perspective of I'm just scared, man. Like it feels like the world is it's just not headed in the right direction. It feels like, you know what I mean? Like things shouldn't be getting more pricey and gas is getting worse and gas is going back up here and food's ultra expensive and
Yeah.
housing costs and vehicles and just shortages on microchip processors and all kinds of different stuff. It just feels like, gosh, I wonder when that's going to end?
I thought it would have been over by now, because the first year, okay, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Second year, okay, people are kind of getting over it, but now we're slowly moving into 2023, and this is still going on. And I was watching a video about how people, this particular company, kind of felt like this console generation, and this is something you and I have also talked about before, but how this console generation just kind of is the most disappointing one. And I mean, it makes a ton of sense. I mean, the PlayStation was already hard to get due to the various shortages for parts that they had. But now with this and the fact that they're also charging $70 for games, it just seems like we're like you said, stuff's going up in cost, stuff's getting harder to find, and I don't know. It's just kind of disappointing, especially when they continue just to support the previous versions. Like I have no reason to put away my PS4 yet when I can put it in another room and still play a lot of the same games that I can play now on my PS5.
Right.
There's no point to get rid of it yet. Well, there was a point to get rid of the Switch because it was not backwards compatible at all with the Wii U, so it worked out.
Yeah, it feels like this generation hasn't even started. I purchased a PS5 and a Series X in 2020 at launch. I got both of them at launch.
Mm-hmm.
And it just feels like it hasn't even started yet. I've had a couple next gen feeling experiences. Demon Souls for the PS5 felt very next gen with the load times and the lighting and the graphics. It was incredible. Um, what else? What else has felt next gen? Horizon Forbidden West feels very next gen to me. You know, with the amount of foliage and just the level of detail and the scope of the game and things like that. That feels next gen to me. But I mean, we're talking 2 years, and we only have a handful of titles that we could even think of that feel next gen, that truly feel like a next gen experience.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn does have its own thing. The haptic feedback does help with it and stuff. But the fact that it's still a PS4 game, like maybe Destruction All Stars, maybe, and Astro's, the whatever that Astro's Playroom or whatever that came with the PS5, those have felt like true next gen games because, like you said, they loaded faster. They completely used every single aspect of the controller. They basically did everything that they could to make it, to show you this is everything that the PS5 can do. Which is what I feel like everybody should be doing. They should be using the haptic feedback and stuff with the microphone. Um, that's why I'm hoping that maybe like with the future VR, the PS VR2, the next Oculus, or I guess Meta at this point, that maybe they start using voice commands as an example. Like you can talk to NPCs and they talk back to you. Just some interesting stuff instead of it being the same. I don't know. I guess it depends upon the game. Like Horizon was definitely a good experience. I'm looking forward to Ragnarok. I'm hoping that really does use some of the PS5's capabilities.
I
But
think they made a decision pretty early. Well, not pretty early, but I remember they were going to have it for PS4, right? And now it's only PS5. It's PS5 exclusive. They scrapped the PS4 version. Is that right, or am I mistaken?
I can definitely look that up. But I thought it was still a PS4 game.
I think they scrapped the PS5 version because they didn't want to hamper it. I may be wrong.
I'm not going to worry about it right now, because otherwise I was just bring it up on the display. Let me check my phone because I think that you might be right, but I haven't really. Um, this says that it's both.
Okay.
According to Games Radar, it's playable on PS4 as well as PS5.
Okay.
Because I don't recall exactly hearing that, but I mean I haven't exactly been keeping up with the gaming news, so it's very much
No,
possible
you're
that.
right. Yeah. It could be a different game I'm thinking of. But I heard of that about a certain game, so I think we're getting to the point where developers are realizing, look, the last gen are holding us back too much.
Yeah, because I mean I've stated that complaint before, especially with the Series X, because I mean the Series X is supposed to be the strongest, most capable console on the market, at least according to Microsoft. That's what their marketing says is the Series X is the most powerful console ever. And one of the first games that I played for it was the Medium, and I don't know if I told you about this before, but like when you play the Medium, it's like a Resident Evil game. Stuff. You got this demon comes out, starts chasing you and stuff. It's almost hysterical the way that it follows you sometimes. But you look at stuff like you check out a notebook or whatever, and I looked down at this one note, and then 30 seconds later the table started to show all of its details, and I was just like, that's not powerful. If it takes you 20 to 30 seconds to load table details, that doesn't sound powerful. This could have easily just been an Xbox One game, and it probably was an Xbox One game that they just decided to make a Series X game just for the sake of you gotta have something out when it's out.
Right.
But I'm hoping that will change because Hellblade is now Xbox exclusive. Um, so I think that maybe, hopefully, they will make it an Xbox One only game. But hopefully by next year we should have nothing but current gen exclusives. Because
That would make sense.
I don't mind something like again a multiplayer shooter that doesn't maybe take up a whole lot of of graphical fidelity or whatever. Kind of like what they did with Halo Infinite, how it could it could look and run way better on one, but it can still technically run on the other. Or a sports game, racing game. I don't mind it every now and then, but there should be some like big AAA action like if the next Uncharted comes out and it's not a PS5 only game, I think that that's going to be a big miss.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's time. It's time. It's been long enough. Like I'm ready, you know. Um,
Yeah, because when's the anniversary? Like in November or something? Like we're coming up, I think.
November,
I,
right?
I,
Yeah.
I think we're coming up on 2 years that these consoles have been out on the market, and we still have last gen.
Yep. It's unfortunate. You know, it all was just the worst timing. This gen just got decimated by the timing. And you know, the gaming world was no less affected by COVID than the rest of the world, you know. So,
Yeah.
it's
It,
it's sad because I've never been more excited for a generation of gaming than I was for this gen. This gen felt like we're getting a real leap forward. We're getting a true leap. And not even in terms of graphical fidelity, of course we were expecting that, but just playability, load times, frame rates, like being able to play Call of Duty or Halo in 120 frames per second at 4K resolution with no load times. You know, that's what I was really hoping for out of this generation is just smooth frames, no load times, just real smooth experiences, and we're not seeing as much of that right now, and it's disappointing.
yeah, because like there's some times where, like you said, it kind of shows itself. Like when I was playing Scarlet Nexus, the HDR it really shows. Like when you're running through the city and you're scanning around and stuff like that, you can really tell that this is trying to do what it can, but it's still again kind of held back a little bit because it's also an Xbox One game. So
Right.
yeah, I do think it's time because when they were talking about this, yeah, I was excited for it. It's like, ooh, SSD, like all this and they showed off that tech demo about how about like the lady or whatever in the cave and how the lighting could be affected and all that stuff like that, and it was just the first time that like I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can do with this because before it's been HD drives and all that stuff like that. It's like, oh, it's a lot of the same stuff, just better graphics. But then like, okay, now we got like the PS5's controller. Like
Right.
we've gotten a lot of stuff that's just really you know felt like, yeah, this is what next gen is. And then like you said, we've just kind of been sticking to last year's stuff.
It's all fizzled out because of the pandemic, and it's very sad. But there are some good experiences coming still, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited. It hasn't slowed to a complete crawl. Ragnarok is coming. Saints Row just dropped. I haven't touched it. Getting a lot of negativity around that game. A lot of negativity. Probably not going to pick it up just because of the amount of negativity around it. Maybe on a sale one day. Maybe if they throw it into Game Pass ever, I'll give it a shot. Of course, if they throw it into Game Pass, I'll give it a shot. But very unfortunate because that was one of the only games in August that was, a big kind of single player game. And you know me, I love my single player stuff, so I'm sad that it wasn't good. Um, God, and we have nothing really coming in September, right? What do we have?
Nothing that I know of. I mean, except for me, because I like Nintendo. But Splatoon's coming in September, but that's about it. I don't know any like thing from Microsoft or Sony that's coming out in September.
Right. So I guess we're going for Broketober again. Uh, Ragnarok, Call of Duty. What else? What else do we have coming up this year? Callisto Protocol.
Yeah,
That's going to be fun.
because they're trying to save everything for the holiday sale. That's what they're doing. They're waiting to like have this game come out in November so people can ask for it for Christmas
I
and
do think Callisto Protocol is going to be one of those games where you think to yourself, "Wow, this is really next gen." You know, like this is definitely a next gen experience because of the way they're doing the gore and the body disfigurement and the lighting and the atmosphere, and I think it's just going to be real high fidelity, and it's going to feel very next gen. No load times. You're going to explore this probably large area with no load times ever, and you're just going to be completely immersed. and I think that's going to be a real, because that's not coming to previous consoles, right?
Not that I know of,
If it
no.
is, if it is,
Not,
if it is, I mean, that's just
I mean, not that I know of. I haven't heard of it being a previous one, but maybe they just haven't talked about it. But yeah, definitely, especially if these bad boys, the 3D audio that's going to come from that, I can just imagine it now. That I'm going to be walking down a creepy corridor or something, and I'm just going to hear like the sliding coming out of my right ear. Like I'm just going to hear the little crawlies and stuff. So,
they
I,
did it. It's a PS4 and an Xbox One game as well. See, so I'm done. I'm done with these dang PS4, Xbox One games, dude. Like it's gonna hold it back. It's like now we're guaranteed Callisto Protocol 1 is gonna be held back because they're gonna have to make some sacrifices to make it work on those consoles. Some sacrifices to the foundation of the game. Sure, they're going to be able to bump up the texture detail and the resolution and the frame rates and the load speeds and all that, but they're having to dial some things back in terms of maybe depth of detail in the game or environmental detail, um, size of the map, things like that, scope of the game, right? That's going to be dialed back because it's on PS4. So that's a little disappointing. Still looking forward to it, but goes to our point, it's time. It's time to just ditch those old consoles. As hard as it's been for people to get a hold of these consoles, there's still several million units out there, right? So
yeah.
I don't know, man.
But I still am looking forward to it because, like you said, it's almost like a PC. You can have a low end PC and can still run the game. So some sacrifices might have to be made as far as maybe frame rate or something like that. But at least with the PS5, it's I'm hoping it's going to be able to upres it, make it look its absolute best and run its absolute best. And then also these 3D pulse headsets, that just changes everything because when I'm, like I said, just I can't wait to be playing the game and totally immersed in it because I'm walking down a hallway and I hear something behind me, and I like legit hear it behind me, not like that's gonna be the kind of stuff. And that's also gonna be something that if they can do in VR is gonna make it really great too. If I can actually hear people behind me like as I'm walking, so I think it's gonna be
Yes.
real good. But um, let's see here. What else? What else? You said something earlier that made me think. That made me think of it. But I don't forgot what it was now. I don't forgot. Okay, so yeah, the shortages and just the fact that we're still getting these games, like you said, it's a little silly. I think that's the only reason why though, is because I think that maybe when we can get a hold of the chips better and we can mass produce them better, these companies will feel a little bit better about dropping their previous gens. Because I think this might be the longest time that we've gone with the previous gen still lingering around because Nintendo completely ditched it. They're like, the Wii U's not selling, we're done. We're moving on to the Switch, we're done.
Completely immediately outside of Breath of the Wild, right? Like
Yeah,
outside of Breath of the Wild, it was just completely ditched.
exactly, yeah. And even now, with all the talks of next gen Switch potentially coming out, um, I'm hoping that they keep the backwards compatibility because who knows? Maybe it'll be hard to get your hands on those. I don't know.
So you think it's going to be a Switch? You think it'll be Switch 2?
I think
You
so.
don't think it'll be an entirely new idea?
I think so. Um, Maybe for one more gen, because that seems to be their thing. Like they get a very popular system like the NES, and then they do it again with the Super Nintendo. Then they get some not so hot sellers, and then they get a big hot seller with the Wii, and then they try to catch fire again with the Wii U. So I think that we're gonna get okay. We've got a really popular system in the Switch. We're gonna try and continue that momentum with another Switch. Um, at least maybe one more console generation. Just because it's something different. I would personally like to see Nintendo go all in. I've been saying this for probably 2 decades now that I would love to see Nintendo just go all in because that's kind of what they did with the Wii U. Other than the fact that they didn't market it very well, it was way more powerful than a PS3 when it first came out. They had no idea what they were going to do with the PS4, so I mean, there was no way to match that. But at the time it was out, it was a very powerful and very capable system. So I would like to see them come out with something that sits underneath your TV, and it's basically a console, and again SSD, and is able to keep bringing those third-party ports over because they're basically still on parity. Like you can still, maybe jump it down a little bit towards like a PS4 and a half, but
Right.
it's still able to look as good as it can. But I think that they're going to, just because of the fact that Nintendo, they have a Japanese kind of way of thinking, and portables are very big in Japan. That's why the Switch is selling so well there. So I think that they want to keep that up for those people who are just like, well, what if they need to work, 10-hour days and they want to play the Switch on the go when they're waiting in a train or something in their commute. I think they're going to try it one more time. I don't think they're going to split up again. I don't think they're going to make a console and then an independent handheld, because I think we are slowly getting rid of the handhelds. But I wouldn't be surprised if Nintendo goes one more time. But
Yeah.
I would like to see them do a full console though, just because again I think that we're getting to the point to where portables are kind of gone. Like Sony tried with the Vita, it didn't go too well. Microsoft was looking into making a portable for a while, and they never did. And now when you got stuff like the PlayStation app on your phone or on a tablet, you can almost, like if I had my tablet, I connected to a hotel's Wi-Fi, I could basically, ping into my PlayStation and play the same game on my tablet with a Bluetooth controller. So they can do something like that, and it's basically like it's a portable. So
Same with the Xbox Cloud, right?
hmm
The Xbox Cloud system. You could have it on any device, any smartphone, throw on a controller attachment or Bluetooth a controller into your phone, and you're playing Xbox Series X quality games via cloud. If your
exactly.
internet's fast enough, it's looking and performing really, really well. But there's just something about the Nintendo handheld that I think is so would just have that nostalgia. I think that's something that'll just never go out of fashion. I don't want to say never, but if Nintendo came out with a only a handheld, that it would be, I think it would sell like hotcakes. I think a new Game Boy, if Nintendo said, okay, we're coming back with the Game Boy and we're just rebooting it, it's going to be called the Game Boy, and here it is. I think that would be like, dude, I think that would sell millions and millions and millions and millions of units. You know what I mean? Make it affordable and make it have your internal development developers go really hard on making some really good Mario and Zelda experiences, and I think it would sell like crazy. I actually hope, I hope they do. I Switch is fine, but the very nature of it being a Switch holds it back power wise. So I wish they would just go super powerful console, badass handheld, and to me that would just be the way to go. That's what
It,
I would prefer, but I don't know how much business sense it makes.
I don't think it makes much business sense, just because of the fact is that like you said, Nintendo's portables usually outsell. Like even when the Wii was popular, the DS was outselling it. The 3DS was selling more than the Wii U, and that's the reason why they kept the 3DS around way longer than they did the Wii U. And they even started bringing Wii U games over to the 3DS because they're like, yeah, people are playing that, not the Wii U. So
Right.
I think that their their little shtick is portables. That's the reason why I think that they just need to stick to what they're doing. Maybe something like a Steam Deck. Something where it's a powerful, very capable gaming computer in the palm of your hands that maybe you can dock and just play it on your TV if you want to.
Right. I'm okay with the Switch too, as long as it gets a significant bump in power, because boy, does it show its age.
Well, I think it will. Nintendo's going to do what they're going to do, and they're always going to try to make their systems sell for as best as they can. Because I can only recall maybe two times where they've sold a console at a loss. Usually they deliberately keep the consoles slightly underpowered just to sell them at a slightly cheaper cost to be able to make sure they can make back their revenue. But
Right.
like we talked about before, we have more of a numbers guy now. We don't have a gamer that's like, hey, this is a really cool idea on how to play games. I want this to be the next console. So I'm hoping that he's looking at the numbers and seeing, look, Switch is a success. It's selling well. We need to just keep doing that. We just need to basically bump its capabilities. What's something that we can get for maybe a 2020 chip or a 2021 chip? Because that's what the main issue is just the chip. Because even when the Switch came out, it was a very, very capable device. It was a very capable handheld. But as the years have gone on, it's now what, a 7 or 8 year old chip. Like it's showing its age. So even if they go with something from maybe a 2020 chip that's a couple years old, they can just mass buy it. That could probably keep them going for another few years. And if they can figure out ways to, use DLSS to where maybe it's a 720 image that's being shown like it's a 4K image, um, you probably won't even tell the difference because it's capable to run so much faster because it's a lower resolution image and it's just being upscaled to look like it's 4K and run at 60 frames a second. You won't even know the difference. You'll be like, man, this is a very capable system.
I hope so. I think it'll be interesting because I'm always gonna buy Nintendo. I'm always. It's just.
Oh yeah.
It's definite. Like that's a guarantee.
I mean, I try to buy every console that I can. As actually
Same.
that's actually something I'm probably going to start doing is going through my retro collection and showing them in videos and be like, hey, this is what I got for the NES, and show off some unique controllers and stuff. But I also want to get back to collecting them. Like I want to get my hands on some very hard to find, like the Nintendo 64 DD, for an example, something that's in Japan only. Get my hands on some of these rare and unique consoles. But I always get Nintendo because it's the same thing with Sony. You know what you're gonna get with Sony. Usually you're gonna get a God of War, probably an Uncharted. You're gonna get with Nintendo. You're gonna get a Mario. You're gonna get a Zelda. You're gonna get a Mario Kart. You're gonna get those franchises that you know. So yeah, I'm always gonna buy those. It doesn't matter if they release a potato. I'm gonna play Legend of Zelda on a potato. Like it's.
Right.
Oh goodness. Let's see here. What else? Hold on a second. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see. I'm hoping that 2023, though, for real, is going to be the year. Like I kind of touched on this a little bit with one of my videos before about if we have the next Zelda, the next Metroid, we have a Donkey Kong game, we have these big hitters coming from Nintendo. That's going to be a very good year. But also 2023, we start to see a lot of Xbox exclusives from the Activision deal. We start seeing a lot of Sony deals.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm hoping that maybe maybe 2023 will be the year because maybe that will be the last year where they decide, what, we don't need this anymore.
Yeah, I'm anticipating 2023 E3 to be pretty significant. I know it's returning to in person, right? It's returning to an
Yeah.
in person format where we're going to probably get some stage presentations and stuff like that. So I could imagine some really big stuff being announced there. Even if it's a couple years away, I can imagine some really big experiences. Like I could imagine seeing some Witcher 4 early, early discussion, at least an announcement of Witcher 4, an announcement of where CD Projekt Red is going. And you got to imagine that's going to be an exclusive to the next gen. And yeah, I think in E3 2023, we're going to see a lot of next gen exclusive games get announced for that holiday season and early 2024. So we're right there. We're right around the corner.
Yeah, what do you think about the idea about potentially we're going to start seeing less and less exclusives? Because we
Did
got we got
did someone mention that at Xbox? Did Phil Spencer
yes,
mention something about
Phil Spencer did
not
mention that.
focusing on exclusives?
Yeah, he that's exactly what brought it up. Was Phil Spencer brought that up at the Gamescom actually. Um,
How interesting for Phil Spencer to mention that after spending $8 billion on Activision and whatever, however many $1 billion on Bethesda. Why would you purchase those companies if you're not going to focus on exclusives? That those purchases, those acquisitions felt very exclusive driven.
Yeah.
Those acquisitions felt like a response to Sony's dominance with exclusives. That felt like, hey, now guess what? We have Doom, we have Dishonored, we have Elder Scrolls, we have uh, Obsidian, we have all these great studios that we can make exclusive. So it's weird that he would even mention that.
Yeah, but I can kind of see where he's coming from, in a sense. You know, like, yeah, Sony owns Destiny, but they're still making Destiny cross-platform. So that means any money that Bungie brings in, whether it's on an Xbox or a PC, or even if it's on a Nintendo, Sony gets a cut of that money. And
So maybe it's smarter to sell 40 million copies of a video game than it is to sell 15 million plus 10 million consoles or whatever, right? So maybe they figure selling the software is going to be much more valuable to them than keeping the software exclusive and shipping more units of the hardware because of it,
I think
right? So
so.
they're thinking,
I think so. Just because even with stuff like Game Pass, you know, like Game Pass is on PC. They're making a lot of money on Game Pass. They don't have to worry about, oh, we have to have Starfield is an Xbox Series X only game. That's the only place you can play it. No, you can play it on Game Pass on the PC. That's fine. Microsoft gets the money that you spend on that subscription, or if it's got microtransactions or anything, they get a cut of that money. So they don't have any reason because you know they own some mobile games also. So when you play those games on your mobile devices, Microsoft gets a little bit of that also.
so I wonder if there's a possibility that Microsoft moves away from hardware completely
I think so.
and they just become a cloud-based streaming gaming service, right? Where,
I
or
wouldn't be
I don't know,
I
maybe
wouldn't
you play the Xbox app on a Nintendo Switch too,
yeah.
or 3. You know, you've they become like a Netflix for gaming, and you could do it on a PC, on a phone, on a Switch, on a whatever, right? On a streaming stick. Like, it sounds like maybe that's what they're thinking. This has me thinking that they're probably thinking very software forward going forward.
Yeah, because if you look at it, all the games that they announced at the last um, E3, you know, the Summer Games Fest, they showed up until 2023 and they all said that they were coming to Game Pass. Not one of them was like, yeah, we're skipping Game Pass. You got to buy it physical only or digital only. So if you got the subscription, like you said before, if it comes to Game Pass, you're gonna play it. You know, most of these games people are gonna try because it's included in the subscription. So
Right.
if the next thing that they come out with is just you know a little stick that you plug into the back of your TV and it streams all the Xbox games, or you download an app like you download the Apple TV app or the you know the Netflix app like you said, and you just stream those games, they still get a cut of the money. Look how much money Netflix and all these streaming companies make off of their content,
Right.
and you
Yeah,
know,
it's interesting.
and then all you gotta do is pay for a subscription. Um, Now, I still think that we're going to still see, you know, separation. You know, even Nintendo starts doing the same thing. They come out with some kind of digital service. They're still going to release their games on their only, just like Sony is. Sony might drop it on PC like they are with Ragnarok and what just dropped Spider-Man. I think just dropped on PC and all that. So we're still going to see that, but probably in the future you're going to start seeing PlayStation games hitting PlayStation Plus. You know, and all you got to do is just again have the app or one small box that just plays everything. And I think that that's wise because now instead of like you know oh you know I only got money for one or the other, it doesn't matter. You only got money for you know a smart TV. That's fine. Download the app. You know you got
Pay a monthly subscription, yeah.
you only got enough money for a laptop. That's fine. Download the app. You know still play those games. You know it can make them money because then instead of like you said they have to so focus strictly on selling the console. How do we get people to buy the console so they can buy the games? People are just like how do we get people to buy the subscription and keep coming back?
Right. Yeah, it's going to be the future of gaming will definitely be interesting, as technology advances. You know, that's I think that's what's going to be cool about VR is VR is always going to be very physical. You're going to need a headset. You're going to need equipment to immerse yourself within VR. So
For right now.
as for now, right, until Neuralink and you're playing VR through a brain chip,
You
right?
know,
So
or like you said, to the like, didn't Google try the glasses thing or something? So now I just gotta get a prescription, and now my right eye can now see my messages, and I just scroll through in the air, and I can just walk down the road, and I'm still like able to, again see avatars walking past me or whatever. Like it's at
right,
least at least at least for now, because because look at how things have changed. Like when you used to do VR, you used to have like a specific setup. You had to have all these wires around you and all that stuff like that. Now Oculus, the MetaQuest is hands free essentially. You can play it by itself.
right,
So if they get to a point to where now you just connect that to like a cellular network or something, and you can take it on the go with you, and you can see through it, and you do like augmented reality, like we talked about earlier, you can now play games anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in the park. It doesn't matter if you're walking down the road. It doesn't matter if you're in the
right.
gym.
We're going to be constantly wearing these. They're going to it's going to get smaller and smaller as time goes, and we're going to end up. Oh, excuse me, I got peanut in my throat. We're going to end up with these freaking glasses on constantly because you're right. They're going to be. We're going to be able to see them, and everything's just going to be an overlay. You want to play video games in the park? Guess what? You have a 10-foot theater screen that you're playing video games on in the park because your glasses projected that in onto your vision, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you feel like you're playing 4K 120 frames per second video games in the park, or when you're laying down in bed, or wherever you're at, you're going to have access to immediately seeing a theater screen or something like that. That's going to be incredible. So as technology advances, we're gonna start seeing, like you said, more wireless experiences. It's gonna be cool.
Yeah,
And equipmentless.
I think it'll be interesting because like now I love doing my PSVR for theater mode. Essentially, I make the screen as big as possible. So basically, it's like I'm looking at a screen. I can just look in all kinds of directions to see stuff, and it's really interesting. But then if you can do that in the park, or anywhere
Right.
anywhere that you go, like okay, yeah, I got like what, an 8 hour flight or whatever, and I'm gonna be bored. No, I'm gonna have a 50-foot monitor in front of me, playing the latest Halo or playing the latest whatever I want to play, and there you go. You just killed 8 hours, no problem.
Yeah, I think that's the most interesting thing is this augmented reality glasses. I think that's going to be the next big technology that everybody's going to want and everyone's going to need. And it's going to completely replace cell phones, and everybody's going to be walking around with a pair of glasses whether they need them to be prescription lenses or not, and you're going to have your text messages popping up right into your eyeballs. You're going to have phone video conferences with people directly on your eyeballs, and it's just going to be wild, man. It's going to be incredible. And like you said, you could just pop up a screen anywhere you're at. Maybe you could. I mean, there's any number of things that you could do with that. You could meet up at a park and everybody downloads the software to a specific game, and then maybe buildings and different type of, like, you could play virtual paintball or virtual like war, virtual, um live action role playing would become even more incredible. You're firing real cannons and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're crashing real castles, and there's real physical objects that you can not physical, digital objects that you could interact with in a physical way. So he was saying there's going to be like a digital object, and you could pick up the digital object and turn it around and stuff, or
hmm,
me or we could teleport a table out in front of us, and we'll see each other plus the table plus the cards on the table, plus we'll be able to pick up the cards, and it's all digital. We're not really touching anything, but we are interacting with digital objects, so that's going to be crazy.
right. Like I said earlier, I think that I read somewhere that Sony was trying to have the whatever they call them, I don't forget what they call them now, but basically the controllers for the PSVR 2 have it to where when you're gripping stuff, like you're gripping a ball, you actually feel like you're holding a ball based upon the resistance that it's giving you. So I think that would be some cool stuff if I could just reach out and it just automatically knows you picked up a ball. It physically shows it. It feels like I'm actually holding a ball, and it gives it the proper weight when I throw it. Like
Right.
that'd be the kind of great stuff to do. And then you could just be hanging out on the beach and you just swipe down, you know, and there's like a FaceTime meeting, just face to face right there on the beach. Don't have to be bothered anybody. Just have on a headset,
Yes.
then swipe up and go back to your game of volleyball or whatever. Just have a good time.
Yeah. And he said they're developing gloves that you can wear that will have haptic feedback in them and tactile feedback where say you're playing catch with your son, you throw the ball, he feels the catch of the ball when it comes to him, and then he throws the ball to you, you could feel it hit your hand, and it's going to have that distribution of weight properly, and it's
Yeah,
going to get wild.
yeah. Like I said, I think it's going to make games really interesting, especially the action-paced ones where you get shot. You actually get shot in the shoulder. You can actually feel it. So you have to actually take some time and like, oh man, like I can't just rush in. You have to actually, get involved like you're doing the real thing. And I think that'd be great for training also because I think in some ways soldiers already do something like that with first-person shooters. They use that as practice. But yeah, and you said that like everybody's going to get into it because I already see that now. Like we got the Vive, we got Meta, we got PlayStation, Nintendo kind of went into it a little bit with the Toy-Con VR set. Um, so everybody is kind of tinkering with it. Even Microsoft, they had those AR, the HoloLens.
Right.
So I think everybody is going to eventually get into this because I think it is going to be the next big thing because everybody's already doing it now. Like you're staring in front of a screen already, like a phone or a tablet or a computer screen or something. And all you have to do now is now that screen goes with you everywhere and it's right in front of your face.
And you're more involved in the world. So instead of me being like this during, we're out to dinner and I'm looking at my phone and everything else is gone, now I'm here, I'm looking at you, but my information is popping up in front of my face. So I don't have to take my focus off of you necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Or the real world. It's more of an overlay. If I want to know how many calories are in the food, maybe I'm looking at food and there's an app that overlays over the food and says there's 375 calories, 200 milligrams of sodium. So I didn't have to pull up my food and Google how many calories are in this or that. It's just instant information.
Yeah, just like
It's going to be
with our phones now, we have those. I forget the different technologies that they call them. Each company calls them, but you can basically scan something and then it translates it into English, or you can then I can take a photo of something. Like I can take a photo of a USB, and it's like, oh yeah, that USB is actually a SanDisk USB, and it comes from Best Buy. Do you want to order it now? Yes, add it to my cart. And that can just be instantaneous. I can just look at something and I can just go, hey, what is that? Oh, that's a Ferrari. And it automatically tells you everything about the car. And it's like, do you want to get one? No, I can't afford it. But but let's virtually drive one.
exactly. Augmented reality is the future. We're going to live in a world where you need those glasses to be on par with everyone else intellectually because everyone else is going to have such an instant ability to interact with information that if you don't have a pair of glasses, you're basically going to be falling behind intellectually because you're not going to be able to have that instant know everything right away and like you said order anything and you look at somebody's, it's going to get weird, but I could imagine that leading to like having some sort of social media system or social credit score. I don't know if you've heard of that, where I've got my glasses on and I look at you, my glasses scan you, they know who you are, and they tell me things about you, almost like a profile on a social media, right? And sure, this is probably going to be opt in. Hopefully, it's opt in. I can
Yeah,
opt into other people's glasses viewing me
kitty.
and giving I like walks on the beach. I like playing this game. I like fantasy books. I like this. And I was born in this date. Like, you'll be able to look at somebody and just instantly get a grip load of information about them, right? Favorite type of music, favorite type of, like, you'll be able to do stuff like that. That's going to be so cool, man.
Yeah, like I'll look at you and I'll go, "Hey, his last meal was a spaghetti and meatballs." It's like, okay, you're sharing too much information now. But
Right.
I think that's what it's going to be. Because if it is a social, because I can imagine it's going to be a social network. Because I mean, let's face it, Meta is a part of Facebook, so I think you have to have a Facebook login anyway to be able to get on the darn thing. Um,
They changed that this week. That changed. You can now sign up using an email and it creates a Meta account and you don't have to have Facebook anymore.
for right now,
For now, yeah.
for now, because like you said, if this takes off and it becomes a big thing, who's to say that they're not gonna be like, yeah, sure, go ahead and link your Twitter on here, link your, you know, but then you got to, like you said, opt in and choose because like my profile is private.
Right.
Only my friends can see the stuff that I choose to share. If you look at my profile outside of that, you're just gonna see maybe my picture and my name. Like it's gonna give you very little. And I think that that's what it's gonna be if they do that. If they do some kind of social network sign in, it's going to be like, yeah, sure, this is a person's name, but they choose not to share any information. You know, do you want to add them? And then it's like you got to then make contact and all that stuff like that and get to actually know a person. I don't think it's going to be. My worry is, I was thinking more of like watchdogs. That was my concern. It was more like a watchdogs thing. Was you're probably going to get these people that are hacking and sharing information and like this is what this person's doing right now. They're like and they're sending this stuff out because you know how we get leaks and stuff now. We get like, hey, certain company got hacked, and you find out about this movie or about these financials or about their. But now imagine that with anybody, like, okay, yeah, your computer got hacked or your phone got hacked. Boo hoo, it's sad, but you can do something about it. You can change your password, or you can erase it and replace the hard drive and start over or something like that. But with this, you wouldn't be able to because the information is right there in your glasses.
Right.
So
And you're going to have a camera on your glasses. What if that little camera gets hacked and you don't know it and someone's just seeing what you're seeing and knows where you're at or steals your information that way?
right.
There will be some security concerns for sure. But I think the good is going to outweigh the bad. And I think if you're sensible and hopefully smart and they develop some really good security features and software and policies and anti-hacking measures and things like that, that it would be it's something I'm definitely going to explore. I'm the guy that will tell you and throw a 3D printed heart inside of me. I want to become a cyborg. You know what I mean? Like, I'm totally down with the post-human, the transhuman, what is it called? The transhumanist uh ideology of becoming one with machines. I truly believe that that's the future of humanity, is
You
becoming more and more integrated with artificial intelligence and machines, and pretty soon we're going to have virtual assistants that are just in our head that we could think, right? And we could talk to our little virtual assistant in our brain, and it's going to gather information for us, and it's going to be amazing, dude.
I certainly hope so. Yeah. I think yeah, because you kind of want to be like Adam Jensen from Deus Ex. I can imagine like
I'm in it.
you're gonna take all the upgrades. You're gonna get like a missile in your chest and just
Oh yeah. And I love that's why I love that series, because it's that question, you've got the group that's totally anti augmentation. And I love that because that's going to be reality. You're going to see groups in the world that are going to be anti augmentation. They're going to believe it's against their religion. They're going to believe that it's no longer makes you human and you're no longer, worthy of that religion's afterlife or whatever. There's going to be all different types of reasons that people are going to go against it, and it's going to be an interesting struggle, I think, and it'll become like one of the questions of our lifetime is, do you augment yourself to become smarter and faster and stronger and live longer and more capable, or does that no longer make you human? Are you no longer human, and do you want to stay human and stay pure? There's going to be those people, so it'll be interesting.
um, you know I I don't want to get into that here because I mean, I guess it depends on how devout you are. Devout you are. Like some people could say, yeah, you got to be 100% who you are. Okay, then I don't need to wear glasses anymore because that's not what I was
Right.
born with. I wasn't born
That's an augmentation. It
exactly.
really is. Yeah.
Or if I,
That's a tech. That's a scientific technological augmentation already.
or
That's one of the first.
something happens with my heart and I put a pacemaker in there. That's not something that was around 1,000 years ago. That's technology. But am I still human because I have a pacemaker in my heart? Like that's not something I feel like getting into because people dye their hair. They do stuff that's technically not what they were naturally born with.
Right.
But I think there's an extent to it, yeah. But I'm all for it. I really am because I've got health problems. I don't really go too much into them on here, but I have my health problems. If I can get that fixed by just one simple you know augmentation, yeah, you know,
Yeah.
my father, he's got like metal and stuff in his leg because he's got like knee issues or whatever. I mean, people improve themselves all the time like that. And so yeah, sign me up because if I could, I said all the time, I've already started figuring out ways that I could do it. If I could work from my bed, if I just had like a big TV or a big projector that I could just put on the wall and I can just sit there with a wireless keyboard and mouse and do my job, I would do it that way because a lot of times it hurts to get up and get to the chair some days, and so
Yeah.
or coming back from
Or
break.
you're in a virtual, like, how cool is it going to be when Apple adopts virtual reality and you, um, or, anybody that, um, like, say an Apple employee needs to help a customer. Uh, becomes a virtual meeting in reality, that
Yeah,
would be pretty cool.
yeah. It definitely could be. Or like I saw somebody did this as implement. They did this as a part of an experiment that they were doing, where they were spending 24 hours in VR. They basically were in like a hotel room laying in a bed, and they were having a meeting while wearing the VR glasses. So
Yeah.
this could be the kind of thing where again I'm just able to lay in bed, and I'm able to just look at my ceiling, and here come these requests, here come the calls or whatever, and I'm able to just speech to text, say what I'm going to say. It types it up, sends it to somebody, or I need to send an email. I say the email, it sends it as an email, like it, and I don't have to get out of bed. I think
Or what if you're laying in bed, and you've got a headset on, the customer's got a headset on, and you meet in the jungle.
yeah,
You meet on the beach, and there's digital avatars of you and the customer, and you're face to face, and you're making eye contact, and the face tracking and eye tracking is conveying your facial expressions and your thoughts, and like that's gonna be cool. That'll give a more personal spin on customer service, and that I think that'll be pretty cool, man. I think that's another avenue where they could take it. Is like, imagine meeting a representative of anything like Amazon out on the freaking beach to talk about your order or
yeah,
whatever, like it humanizes it more. Because right now, over the phone or through a chat or however you're getting in contact with customer service, you could be an absolute a-hole to them. You treat them like they're not human because there's that level of disconnect. Maybe if both people are meeting with their digital selves, there'll be less likely to be so mean because it feels more like a human interaction than just like a so separate.
right. And then I think like what you're talking about, that would be a really cool thing to implement also because then like if they're sitting on the beach and they need something to be looked at real quick, like almost like the holodeck of Star Trek, where it would just be like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm a hologram, and I'm able to just pick it up, look at it real quick. Oh, let's just do this together, and we solve the issue, and then we move on, and then boom, I'm gone, just like that."
Amazing. So that's the future.
And
I think
and
I
it's,
think Apple's going to get into it soon.
I think they are. I heard something about that. I heard they were working on a. I'm surprised that at the last keynote they didn't announce anything like that. But I've been
2 weeks.
I've been hearing for a while that they were gonna release some kind of a VR or AR headset.
Hmm.
So, but who knows if that's gonna take off? Because supposedly Google tried it with Google Glasses and that didn't take off. So, we'll have to wait and see because that was a different time.
Yep.
I think it'll be interesting though, especially because now we already um, are adopting this ecosystem now. You know, like if you're Android, you're Android. If you're Apple, you're Apple. You got your FaceTime, you got your messages, you got your emails. You're in that ecosystem. And so again, if you could just basically be like, yeah, it's an actual iPhone, like it's actually in your eye, and it's just you look at something and it scans it, and like this person just told you something, but you had in your AirPods and it translated it in your ear to English,
Right.
so then you can just say it and it will translate whatever their language is to German or to Spanish or whatever. And you can just have this dialect and not even actually have to know the language because the computer is doing it for you.
It's incredible. The future is bright.
It, it,
The future of technology is bright.
it definitely is. I think it's going to be really interesting to see. And it's also going to be interesting to see what game consoles are going to come out of this because if we can get holodeck like stuff, that's gonna be awesome. Well, I can actually like physically touch people. Um,
What if you're in a park and through your augmented reality, you're playing basketball, NBA basketball against LeBron James
yeah,
because your augmented glasses bring up the court and they bring up the basket and they bring up the other players and you're able to interact with these things, and the ball is digital and you're bouncing the ball and you're wearing the gloves and you feel the bounce of the ball and you feel the weight of it when you shoot it and it's just the opportunities are endless. Like the amount of digital experiences we could have in gaming is crazy. Shooting things, going hunting,
hmm
uh, first person shooters out in the park. Like it's gonna be crazy.
I think it's gonna be real interesting too because I can just see you having a grand old time like actually picking up wrestlers and slamming them.
Right? Yeah.
Because like you're just be in the middle of the park just doing this and slamming them. So yeah, it's gonna be good stuff. Gonna be real good stuff. I think it's gonna be fun, real interesting. It's just gonna depend on how they do it. How much of it is gonna be forced down our throats, and how much of it is gonna be opt into or optional or just whatever.
Right.
It's gonna be interesting, definitely. And and this can change everything because I already don't go to the theater as much anyway. So now if I can have a theater in you know my eye whenever I want it, I just gotta rent the movie, and then I can just share it. I can send it to other people, and we can all watch the movie together.
You could all a hologram of that person is sitting to your right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's gonna be. He said Mark Zuckerberg said their entire goal with why they're spending so much money on AR and VR is to bring people together and
Mm-hmm.
to help people build relationships and being able to visit your parents and you're in their room as a hologram or they're at your house as a hologram hanging out
Yeah.
like
Because
amazing.
I mean that makes stuff so much fun because one of the reasons why we moved down here was just to be closer to our family. But I mean, if it got to a point to where opportunity came up, we're gonna move to another state. We can still have family visit on the weekends or on holidays because all they gotta do is put on a headset. And now they're in the living room unwrapping Christmas presents, and we didn't have to drive 1 mile.
And what about work? You could work any job because you could just instantly be in any office in the country as a hologram.
Hmm.
So it's going to open up job opportunities where you no longer have to live in New York City or California, Los Angeles to get this big time, high paying job. You could be sitting, wherever you're at in middle America, and you're automatically in a New York high rise having a meeting as a hologram. Like, the opportunities
Exactly.
are endless, man. It's gonna really improve the world, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I'm hoping that it will definitely improve the world. That's what I'm hoping for. And but again, it's going to depend upon people because some people can ruin it, some people can make it, bad. But that's with anything. People make phones bad because they want to go in and they want to steal people's information and they want to, turn around and sell it. So
Right.
it doesn't matter whether I keep a card on my physical person in a wallet, or whether I keep it digitally, or I keep it in, on a lens or something. Someone's going to find a way to get it. So,
Right.
but hopefully, like you said, all the good parts of it are going to outweigh all the bad.
Right.
And yeah, hopefully 2023 will be good for everything getting back to normal. Movies getting back to normal, TV shows, all kinds of stuff like that, and just games coming out. I think it's gonna be interesting. I'm
It
looking
will.
forward to it.
It'll be fun.
And did you have anything else you wanted to talk about, real quick?
Nope, that's it, man. I'm good to go. I'm ready to go pick up my YouTube equipment. It's ready for pickup, and so next Retro Rewind, we're gonna have me in a much better angle, much better audio, much better video. Everything's gonna look good, and I think it'll be, slowly but surely we'll start improving the rewind, and you could join my YouTube channel
Definitely.
for some discussions, and it'll be fun, man.
I'll definitely join yours, and I'll of course always give you a shout out and just let people know that he's gonna be having a YouTube channel soon. So you're always welcome to go and check that out. Because as soon as it drops, I'm gonna start leaving probably in the descriptions of the Retro Rewinds, links to the channel so they can go in and visit or whatever. So if anybody wants to check that out, they're welcome to.
And I'll do the same for you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and yeah. So as usual, guys, thank you for joining us for this discussion. I'm hoping to go live one of these days, so that way, if anybody wants to jump in and talk to us live, we can drop in a topic. We can just look at it and be like, hey, so and so said this. Let's talk about that, and just
That would be so cool.
yeah. I'm hoping so, but like you, I want to make sure that my equipment is, optimal. I want to make sure that we don't get any issues like we've been getting with stuff dropping, or cameras, being buggy, or microphone. I want to make sure it's all good to go, and to make sure it's the absolute best it can be before I do that, because I want to make sure that, people aren't getting dropped. I don't want that. I want the absolute best that I can give. So
This is going to be, one day we're going to show a clip of these videos, and we'll laugh about it, and we'll say, look, this is where we came from. This is the quality our stuff was at when we first started, right?
yeah,
And we'll be able to have a laugh at it. And right now, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm having a good time, and I think we're having interesting conversations with each other, and it's just fun, right? I think it's just fun. So
yeah.
I'm proud of that.
And that's all that's about at the end of the day. Even when I sit down and I watch somebody else's podcast, or I watch someone's whatever kind of thing they do, where they get a bunch of YouTubers together and they just do these discussions. At the end of the day, I am just wanting to watch it. Even if I don't say a word, just listen to what they have to say. Even if and if I do type something, if they notice it and then they give me a shout out or something, that's fantastic.
Right. Yeah. So it'll be good, man. The future, our future on YouTube looks good, and hopefully we could help each other grow, and everything will be good, and it'll be a fun time.
I think it will too. But I appreciate you joining me as always, Mike. It's a good time always having you on here. I wish that I might start moving these to bi-weekly. I don't know, like maybe twice a month. It's just because I enjoy doing them so much. But I really do want to.
Yeah, exactly.
I do kind of just want to stick to maybe doing them once a month right now, just because channel's not too big. But maybe maybe weekly, because in that way I can start saying like Mondays I got this, Wednesdays I got this, and every Friday night I got this.
Right.
So who knows? Maybe I'll do that. I got to figure out how scheduling's going to work and all that stuff. But whatever we do get together, it's always fun. So
Yes, sir. Thank you.
otherwise, guys, I appreciate you joining us. You're welcome to leave comments about anything that we've talked about in the comments down below. Make sure you leave a like if you did like this and you managed to listen to this long and put up with all of our craziness. And you're always welcome to subscribe to my channel and, of course, to Mike's channel. Whenever that does hit up, I'll be sure to put links into that as well. Otherwise, guys, have a good one. And we'll see you on the next Retro Rewind.